They came in January. Hundreds of trucks and vehicles, thousands of protesters.
We are here for our children's future and our children's freedom.
Organizers vowed to stay as long as it would take to end all COVID-19 mandates. Others demanded the outright removal of the Trudeau government as they joined the shutdown of Ottawa's downtown core. A well-funded, well-supplied occupation that brought a playground atmosphere, along with harassment of residents and business owners. And criticism, police were either unable or unwilling to take control. Conservatives were divided over the shutdown, but the current leader was clear.
I'm going to look for an opportunity to bring coffee and support and friendship for peaceful, law-abiding, hardworking, freedom-loving truckers.
The Prime Minister took a different view.
There is a right to make your voices heard loudly and clearly. There is not a right to shut down our democracy or our democratic processes. There is not a right to abuse, intimidate, and harass your fellow citizens.
But as the convoy grew more established and more emboldened, there were calls for a stronger response.
Do something. Doing nothing and promising to do nothing encourages those people to stay there.
The federal government has to stop using jurisdiction as an excuse for inaction. It's simply wrong.
By then, the blockades had spread to border crossings in Western Canada and to Windsor's Ambassador Bridge, cutting off a vital trade artery. Ontario eventually declared a state of emergency to clear protesters. 3 days after that, the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act. It gave the RCMP power to enforce provincial and municipal law, power for banks to freeze accounts, and power for the government to suspend truck insurance and target crowdfunding platforms and payment providers. Justin Trudeau deemed it reasonable and a last resort.
This has gone on far too long. It is no longer a lawful protest at a disagreement over government policy. It is now an illegal occupation. It is time for people to go home.
And restrictions.
Conservatives called the emergency declaration a sledgehammer. The Bloc also opposed the move, but the NDP provided reluctant backing.
We will withdraw our support if at any point we feel these powers are being misused.
By the time Parliament confirmed the declaration, police had already moved against the occupation zone in Ottawa. Arrests were made, trucks were towed, and banks froze more than 200 accounts before the order was revoked on February 23rd. Invoking the Emergencies Act requires a public inquiry into the basis for the declaration, the measures used, and if changes are needed. The Public Order Emergency Commission, led by Ontario Judge Paul Rouleau, must report to Parliament by February. And over the next 6 weeks, he's called 65 witnesses, from the convoy leaders facing criminal charges, to police, federal, and municipal leaders, and groups representing Ottawa residents. And we'll hear from the key people who made the call to invoke the Emergencies Act, cabinet members, and the Prime Minister himself. For CPAC, I'm Andrew Thomson.